And we continue at 1:07 in the afternoon. Talk Radio 790 KABC, the John Phillips Show, broadcasting live from the Morongo Casino Resort and Spa Living Room Studios. Mr. Randy Wings at the sports desk in Culver City.
John, whether Kevin DeLeon decides to not run in 2024 or he decides to run and loses in 2024, he's going to be looking for a new career. And I think he might have a great second act as a weatherman.
Those are the public health consequences. And the extreme weather patterns, because as we go into October and November, when we have Thanksgiving, folks are going to say, man, it is hot as hell on a Thanksgiving day. Those are due to extreme weather patterns, which are tailpipe.
Could you imagine him in front of a green screen in a cocktail dress?
It is hot as hell.
Oh, I'm going to use that. Kevin DeLeon, you're getting a drop.
It is hot as hell.
800-222-KABC is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. It's a pleasure to welcome our next guest to the program. She is the former majority leader for the California Senate. You can follow her on Twitter at Gloria J. Romero. Gloria Romero, welcome.
Woo-hoo, let's go.
All right, so here's my first question for you, Senator. The former sheriff for Los Angeles County, Alex Villanueva, made headlines last night when he announced that he plans to run for the Board of Supervisors against Janice Hahn. What do you make of that?
Well, I must say that I'm excited about his run. It's about time that the supervisor of perpetual indulgence is challenged, and I think she's vulnerable. It will be an uphill struggle, no doubt about it, fundraising, the Democratic Party machine overall, but I think it's about time that this issue of, legacy children being able to inherit their daddy's former seat really should be challenged in L.A. County, and Alex Villanueva is the person to do it.
The L.A. County Board of Supervisors recently had the district lines redrawn. That district, prior to this election, was primarily a Long Beach-based coastal district that included the South Bay, Palos Verdes, those areas. It was an affluent white district. Now, the lines have been drawn that takes it to places like Whittier and other parts of eastern Los Angeles County, independent municipalities with large Latino populations. This is a very different type of district than Janice Hahn is used to running in. When you're an incumbent and you're running for re-election in a largely new district like she is, do you have all the powers of incumbency that you would otherwise normally have, or does that add a bit of a curveball into the mix?
Well, undoubtedly, she has to now reintroduce herself or repackage herself probably to a whole new set of voters. However, the power of incumbency is very, very powerful. You've got the title, the ballot designation as the supervisor for that district. So it still is an uphill battle, but nonetheless, I think it's going to be a very high turnout. We've got a lot of issues on the ballot, not only in L.A. County, but in the city, in the state, and everybody in L.A. County, in that district, congressional races, you name it, are going to be voting. So I would imagine that depending on if the Villanueva team does its job right this time around, they should be able to target voters across the spectrum, not just Latino, but across the spectrum, who very much want a return to law and order and some semblance of public safety that the supervisor of perpetual indulgence has basically abdicated on. And that's his message to the voters. So Latino, white, Asian, African American, there should be a strong interest. Anybody who's gone near a metro line, my God, they should be the first one in line to say, vote the supervisor of perpetual indulgence out of office.
It doesn't matter what national poll you look at. Latino voters are moving to the right. Some are moving faster than others in places like South Texas and South Florida, but we're certainly seeing that happen here in California, too, where Joe Biden is running, I think it was 20 points ahead of Donald Trump in the last UC Berkeley poll that we saw. But Hillary Clinton won the state by 30 points, and Joe Biden won the state by 29 points. So that's a big drop from where they were in 2016 and 2020, a lot of the movement that we've seen in that poll has come from Asian and Latino voters. The message that Villanueva is putting out, the message that he's selling, is that I'm a Democrat, but I'm a specific kind of Democrat. I'm a moderate and conservative when it comes to law enforcement and homelessness and those sorts of things. How do you think that message is going to play to Latino voters in this district?
They will play very well. I mean, basically, if you take a look at the Latino community, myself included, I'm a Democrat, but I do not recognize this Democratic Party any longer. And I'm one who has said, look, give me back my party. Many Latinos are walking away from the Democratic Party. So I think this is one where Villanueva can run on almost like that old Kennedy era, but basically saying it's law and order, it's family first, state get out of the way. You know, you don't own our children. We want safety. We want great schools that basically, if you got good schools, you're basically going to be more likely to reduce the incidence of crime overall. So I think that this is going to be a population, and then coupled with the Asian American community, and make no doubt about it, in this supervisorial district, it's a very diverse district, and there is a strong presence of not only Latinos, but also Asian Americans as well. And so whether you're fighting against discrimination in education, like, you know, the Harvard case with higher admissions, trying to protect your family and the right of a parent to raise their child and not have to worry about the state coming in and taking them away because the parent doesn't, quote unquote, affirm an identity used at the school, or just basic, you know, law and order. I think Villanueva will have a very strong sort of universal theme. And what is Janice Hahn going to run on? Look, you know, for purposes of disclosure, I like Janice at a personal level. I've always enjoyed, you know, knowing her, working alongside her in the past a long time ago. But she really has taken a far, far left turn, whether it's in supporting a fake doctor in terms of determining the public health or the lack of public health and the violation of our civil rights in L.A. County, to her abdication of responsibility on the metro and safety, to her embracing of these jerks, pardon the pun, who literally was found jerking just a few days ago, the perpetual indulgence supervisor. I mean, she has abandoned everyday working families, blue-collar workers, middle-class families who are saying, just give me back my sanity. And she's abdicated on that. What is she going to say? You know, is she going to pull a Gavin Newsom and saying, my God, you know, maybe had we known, blah, 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 we didn't know. They knew. They know. She still continues with the same failed policies in L.A. County that has led to her being challenged.
You referred to her as the supervisor of perpetual indulgence. That, of course, is a reference to the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, which are drag queens that mock Catholic nuns that were honored at Dodger Stadium, which became a big controversy. Did that story, and I don't speak Spanish, so I'm not consuming Spanish language media, did that story play in the Spanish language media, Spanish radio, Spanish newspapers, Spanish television? Is this something that was on the radar of the voters in this district?
Absolutely, yes. And beyond Spanish language radio, it played in the faith-based community, not only Catholic, but also as well, too, you've got, many others. The Latino families overall tend to embrace faith. And so there's a strong network of churches and organizations throughout L.A. County and throughout the state of California. So this is something that they remember overall. And so it's one where, you know, I think for Villanueva, I'd suggest, you know, if she's calling him, you know, the so-called Donald Trump of L.A. County, he's going up against the supervisor of perpetual indulgence. I mean, you got to then take a pick. Which one do I want? And probably most Latino families are going to say, you know, first of all, they're probably just going to reject the labels overall, but they're going to say, give me somebody who respects my family, my personal safety, my values, my right to choose without being masked and injected with vaccines that are experimental in nature, and that I can go out at night and not have to worry about one of those sisters that she honored basically doing, something that's not exactly nice in front of me and my children at a local park. So it was very well known, and I think that that's a thing that the sheriff, the former sheriff, will run on in terms of communicating. It's time for a change in L.A. County. It's long past time for a change.
We're speaking with Senator Gloria Romero, who you can follow on Twitter at Gloria J. Romero. Senator, we're changing the way bail is done here in Los Angeles County, and different law enforcement organizations are already putting out the press releases warning the public what's to come. Randy, you have one of those press releases in your possession.
These are going out all over the place. Someone sent us the one from the El Segundo Police Department. I'll read you just a couple of excerpts of the new zero bail schedule that starts on October 1st. The newly approved release protocols will replace the traditional bail schedules. Instead of assigning money bail amounts to nonviolent felonies and misdemeanors, a majority of arrestees will now be released at the location of the arrest or booked in jail, then released on their own recognizance with a citation for a future date. As a result of these new release terms, the El Segundo Police Department must cite and release or book and release arrestees in nearly all theft offenses, vehicle code violations, and crimes against property such as petty theft and vandalism.
Senator, this means that the police departments, which are already neutered, are going to be neutered even more.
And not only is that going to occur, but the general public that is already being robbed and murdered are going to be robbed and murdered even more. Look, I have my concerns about how we see our system of bail in L.A. County and the state. And clearly there are, quote-unquote, inequities. But this blanket abolition of zero bail coupled with prosecutors, Soros-backed prosecutors who won't do anything, coupled with a defunding of the police themselves, coupled with weak, failed leadership, including Janice Hahn and others, who refuse to stand with law enforcement in basically trying to get some measure of sanity. If you're looking at a perfect storm overall. So this new policy, it's not just what's on the paper, on the press release that Randy read. There's going to be a reverberation throughout the system because every aspect of the system is broken, from the so-called use of ambassadors who don't do anything, to the defunding, to basically, again, to even how we elect judges and the politics behind judges' elections in California that nobody even knows about and understands, coupled with DAs that are funded by ultra-left, money, coupled with, again, too, just this cite and release. That's ridiculous. All it means is basically you don't have to stop. You can go on and you can do whatever you want to do, and there are no repercussions, except to the taxpayers and except to the public who can continue to be expecting to be victims of crime. And until it almost gets worse, it's not going to get better. The people have got to stand up, and that's why it ties into Villanueva's campaign as well, and others who would be willing to stand up like this. All these experiments on taking a look at revising the criminal justice system, they're going to fail when you keep having this magnitude of breaking apart and dismantling any system, any semblance of law and order in L.A. County or California. It's destined to fail, and that means the people hurt.
Do you worry about what kind of dominoes this could set off? And I say this because by essentially coming out and telling the public it's open season on any kind of property crime or any kind of crime that's deemed to be quote-unquote low level. If I'm a shopkeeper and I hear that, I say to myself, I'm on my own. If I'm a criminal and I hear that, I say to myself, it's stealing season. When you combine those two attitudes together, the thief that knows that they can get away with anything and the shopkeeper that knows that they're on their own with no support from the police, no support from the district attorney's office, no support from the government, people are going to look at this as almost a vigilante situation where if you want to protect your property, if you want to protect your shop, that's on you. That's no longer on the police. And we know in this city that when there's a negative interaction between a shopkeeper and a thief, that it could ignite all kinds of fury. We've seen it happen before. The Latasha Harlings case back in, I think it was the 1990s, really set the city off when that happened. We've seen it happen around the country. And I say to myself, if there's anything we don't need right now in this city, it's someone robbing a store and the shopkeeper shooting them because the shopkeeper feels like they have no other choice, and then the town burns.
Absolutely. What you described is something we can anticipate. And we already see a further crackdown coming from Sacramento in legislation that would punish store owners and employees if they dare, oh my God, to be a good Samaritan and simply help out. Which one of us would want somebody to come to our aid, come to our assistance if they see us being beaten or robbed or something occurring in the store? And this isn't just about private property. This is about all of us. It's about the public safety and the public psyche as well. And so you're absolutely right. We're going to see more of these the rise of vigilantism, and we shouldn't be surprised then. You know, you think about those Charles Bronson movies that occurred, that we saw back in the 80s or whenever those
Death
movies
Wish.
ran. Exactly. And I'm not calling for vigilantism, but, you know, on social media, how many times do you see something where and I'm going to call them brave people step up, maybe employees, and they use a broom handle to beat down a suspect, and you see the response on social media like, bravo, American hero. In the old days, you would think that's just what you do. You stop somebody, you help out. Today, we call them American heroes, not because they're beating somebody down with a broom handle, but because basically they're standing up to the power of the state and the wacko wokeness that has taken over to simply say, you do the right thing and you stop something that is morally wrong. And so I think the message is basically that we're going to find ourselves in a very deep despair. We're creating San Francisco-like evacuation of the cities overall, and it's occurring. You drive around LA, you see it. It's going to get worse with these kind of stuff, and with a continuation of quote-unquote leadership that does nothing to stop it, but actually facilitates it.
Senator Gloria Romero, you can follow her on Twitter at Gloria J. Romero. Senator, thanks so much for stopping by. Always a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, the show is just flying by today, so it's going to be 3 o'clock before we know it. If at 3 o'clock you want to keep listening to us, you can do that easily.
That's right. Maybe you just really liked what you heard and you want to keep hearing it. Maybe a show that you listen to has people on vacation and you'd rather hear us. You can do that by going to KABC.com, clicking on podcasts, go to the Apple Podcasts app, iHeart, Spotify, search for The John Phillips Show, hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes. You can search for The John Phillips Show in YouTube. It is so easy to do. I believe in you. You can download this podcast.
It's Woo Wednesday.
Ric Flair.
It's Woo Wednesday. Yeah, baby. Woo, 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 woo.
Which means, Randy, tomorrow is Throwback Thursday.
That's right. So in the 2 o'clock hour, we're going to open up the phones. And if you have a suggestion for the music that we play on tomorrow's show, your favorite artist, genre, or theme, creativity is encouraged. You give us a call. We'll pick one lucky listener who chooses all the music for Throwback Thursday.
And, Randy, we're going on the road later this week.
That's right. We're in the middle of the week.
Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
But on Friday, from noon to 3, John and I are going to be broadcasting live from the Gelson's in Century City at their wine bar. Gelson's Food Market in Century City has a fantastic, beautiful wine bar. We're going to be down there having lunch and doing the show, so come on down, get a tasting. Tastings for flights of wine and beer are $2 off on Fridays. Get the burger. I hear it's fantastic. We're going to be doing some giveaways. We're going to have a great time, maybe even some surprise guests. Come on down and hang out. We'll take pictures. We'll have a great time. We'll celebrate Jimmy Buffett Friday in style at the Gelson's in Century City this Friday from noon to 3 at the Westfield Shopping Center.
The mayor of Oakland recently did a sit-down with a local TV station in Northern California to explain the appalling condition of her town.
Next up, after Sheng Tao admitted that she's been a victim of bipping, which is slang for getting your car broken into, she was asked if she supports the policies of Alameda County's new district attorney, who is softer on crime than George Gascon, Pamela Price.
Quite frankly.
Talk to you about something I saw. It was an interesting visual as I was watching the meeting. You were sitting right next to Alameda County District Attorney Pamela Price. I hadn't seen that pairing before. Do you support Pamela Price and her policies?
You know, for me, as mayor of Oakland, I need to work with the district attorney. And so whoever sits in that seat, I will have to work with them. You know, I think that it's incredibly important that we work closely together so that my officers, the good officers...
That's a way to sidestep. I can't criticize her because I have to work with her.
How is it that these politicians can't give a straight answer for a question like that?
You've been a victim of bipping. You just told us you don't feel safe. You can't criticize the DA who says I don't want to go after criminals because it's racist?
The good officers of Oakland can understand what kind of evidence is needed so that we can actually get her to prosecute cases. And so right now she has said that she will dedicate a DA into the OPD. We received one, but she has yet already left.
What?
She already left.
She fire another one? Apparently what's going on is Pamela Price has been clearing house and firing anyone that wants to prosecute criminals. And so then they go across town and get a raise and work for Brooke Jenkins in San Francisco.
I actually know someone who works in that office, and they say that all of their recruitment is coming from Alameda County.
And so right now she has said that she will dedicate a DA into the OPD. We received one, but she has yet already left the department with the district attorney's office, so we're waiting for a replacement.
So you've made it.
So they've got nobody.
But they're working on it.
So you've made it clear that you will work with her. Do you support her policies?
This anchor is doing an incredible job.
We need her down here.
Well, you know, I haven't seen her policies being implemented quite yet. So
things like reducing sentences for young offenders, eliminating most sentencing enhancements. We've heard from a lot of families who are upset that the people who perpetrated crime against their loved ones aren't being held accountable.
Yeah. No, I believe 100% in accountability.
There's the word.
Accountability, which means she said absolutely nothing.
No, I believe 100% in accountability. Look.
Do you think she's going to say the P word at all in here?
No.
How about the J word?
No.
No, I believe 100% in accountability. Look, if you make a mistake, you know, and it causes harm, then there has to be justice. Again,
You know what? Those gang members that shot up the football field, they made a mistake.
That's all it was. They reached a fork in the road and they took the wrong turn. That's all.
Again, my son was harmed. I have been harmed as a
That's right. She got bipped.
I have been harmed.
Or she was bipped? I don't know the correct pronunciation of bipping.
You have to check Merriam-Webster.
I have been harmed as a domestic violence survivor. And as a victim, and my son seeing him suffer through the trauma, I take that seriously. There must be consequences. Let's be very clear. This is a cost-benefit analysis.
This sounds a little bit like what some Oaklanders have said, that the DA is soft on crime.
Well, you know, for me, I'm going to take it with the data. So my officers will do the arresting, and we are pushing that, and we are keeping track of what is actually being prosecuted and what isn't. And from that point, we could take the real data and then say whether or not she's actually doing the job that she was elected to do.
Okay, she did exactly what Karen Bass is doing down here, which is not wanting to be seen in public with them, critical of what's going on in their office, but they won't call them out by name and say they need to go.
Quite frankly.
Let's go to Sharon in West Hills. Sharon, you're on KABC. Hello.
Hi, John. How you doing today?
Good.
I called because you were asking how many people were going to leave California, and I called to tell you a story about my sister who lived in her dream house for 25 years in Oakland. She had it just perfect. And she went to Europe, and she watched her house get robbed on her video cameras, and she called the police and told them she had video and told them she could identify the perpetrator because she recognized him as an acquaintance of her daughters who had been to the house maybe a couple of times. And the police told my sister that they would not arrest him. They would not pursue the case because he was a person of color. And even if they did arrest him, that the prosecutors would not prosecute this case. So my sister sold her tiny little dream house for $1.3 million and moved to a fixer-upper in Maine and went through one of the coldest winters a couple years ago that they ever had with a wood-burning stove and has never regretted leaving Oakland.
And now it's lobster season.
Oh, yeah. I went to visit her last year, and let me tell you, awesome.
Thank you for the call. I appreciate it. We're going through the sound of the interview that the mayor of Oakland did with KTVU San Francisco.
One of the earliest criticisms of Mayor Sheng Tao is that right when she got into office, one of her first acts was firing the police chief. And here we are, it's almost a year later, and they still have no police chief. So KTVU asked Mayor Tao, what up with that?
Okay, before we leave the issue of public safety briefly, the search for an Oakland police chief, still ongoing.
Still ongoing. The police commission.
No one wants that job.
Still ongoing. The police commission, that is in their court right now under the charter. It states that the mayor is not involved until this police commission actually goes out and does the interview, where they will recommend 3 top officers to me so that I can actually choose.
Where are
the
they in that
chief.
process? Do you even know if they have the 3? Have they talked to more than 3?
You know, it's kind of an important issue when your city's going through a crime wave that you get a new police chief and that everyone involved is dragging their heels on the process.
I love that there's zero sense of urgency here.
Well, I know that they've already
She fired him in February. It's the middle of September.
Well, I know that they've already completed the community portion of it. And so right now, I do believe that they're out actually asking people to apply. So I've actually seen the application myself. So if anybody's out there and they would like to be a part of the city of Oakland and be...
Wait, are you doing the pitch on TV now?
They're still accepting applications in September?
So if anybody's out there and they would like to be a part of the city of Oakland and be the future chief, please do apply. But that application process is now out, and I have seen it.
Okay, so we're still in the taking applications portion. Mm-hmm. Do you think we'll have an OPD chief before the end of the year?
I'm really hopeful that we will.
We won't.
You know how long it takes them to find a bachelor for the television show?
Not 8 months.
No. And they conduct searches in big cities all over America.
And if we don't, and I'll say it right here today, and if we don't, I will declare a state of emergency to get a police chief, because this process has been held up by the police commission for far too long with all the shenanigans, the internal fighting. And mind you, the police commission...
Okay, why didn't you lead with that? Originally, when she started answering the, oh, yeah, we got this taken care of. We're accepting applications. If you want to apply, please do. And now she acknowledges, after she went through all of that and heard the words come out of her mouth and realizes how ridiculous she sounds, now she's saying they're a problem.
You notice how her answers change when she's pressed. This is why when you have a strong California press corps, you can get these politicians to actually say something important.
Mind you, the police commission, it is a body of public citizens. They do not get paid.
It's probably a bunch of defund the police people.
Probably.
They do not get paid. But all of the different infighting has just not been conducive to what we're doing here and running a city. And it's been very frustrating.
Okay, you said it right now, before the end of the year, if it hasn't happened, state of emergency to get a new OPD chief.
They're going to hold her to that one.
Why does there need to be a state of emergency for everything? We have a state of emergency for COVID, a state of emergency for homelessness, a state of emergency for gun violence, a state of emergency because we can't get our act together and hire a police chief.
I wonder how things got so bad in Oakland so fast.
It's hard to believe. We're listening to sound from an interview that the mayor of Oakland recently did with KTVU.
Hey, Mayor Tao, how come 911 don't work?
Let's move on to the 911 system. I'll tell you, I work here. I've called 911 a number of times for people who appear to be passed out or something else on the sidewalk, people walking down the side of the freeway. I have been on hold for several minutes, and people tell similar and even worse stories. Help is coming. at least in some form, to the 911 system?
Absolutely. Again, the 911 system, that has been an ongoing issue.
Yeah, don't blame me. It's always been bad.
Why is it that they only seem to have these problems in Oakland?
And why has the system gotten so bad that it's completely failed multiple times this year while she was mayor?
You know, when I first got elected to mayor and I saw an incident happening, I called 911.
How long were you on hold?
Oh, funny that you said that. I wasn't on hold. I got a busy signal.
Okay.
Like that's any better.
Right.
So even worse. Right. So I understand the gravity.
So let's see. The mayor of Oakland has had her home broken into, has been bipped, and can't get through to 911.
No.
Right.
So even worse.
Right.
So I understand the gravity of where we're at right now, and it is inexcusable at all. And so this is why.
So what have you done to fix it?
She acts like she's just the customer service rep. Oh, yeah, we're going to get right on that. Oh, we know all about that. Thank you for your concern.
At all. And so this is why when the new monies came in, the new revenues that we generated, the $2.5 million, that money is going to...
That money, by the way, came from the Oakland Alameda Coliseum that is going to be vacant in about a year.
It's not money, it's monies.
That money is going to the 911 responders for infrastructure, technology upgrade, and not just that, but bodies, more people.
How many people are you hoping to hire?
So right now we have vacancies for 16. We have 16 vacancies. Okay. We implore anybody who is wanting to apply.
Boy, this whole entire interview is a pitch. Please come work for us. We're desperate.
And in any other circumstance, a job like a police officer or a 911 operator, people are competitive. They want those jobs, except in a city like Oakland where nothing works.
We implore anybody who is wanting to apply, please apply. These are great paying jobs.
I see that call on Twitter, by the way, all the time. OPD hiring now. Can I ask real quick? Andre and I were kind of poking around online. He saw just 2 listings online for dispatchers, but there were 16 openings.
There are 16 openings. Okay. There are 16 openings and vacancies. And what we would like to do is we want to change why. There is a reason why we are actually hemorrhaging, right? It's a tough position. You hear people's
Very
worst
stressful.
days.
And you can't help them.
No. You can't do anything.
If you actually get to the 911 dispatcher and you say, I'm actively being robbed, sorry, we don't have any police officers that we can send you.
Who wants to give that answer? Not me. We've got one more hour coming up on the John Phillips Show right here on Talk Radio 790 KABC.
I have been a victim, bipping. I've been a victim of that.